Mario Kart is popular for many reasons: its dynamic mechanics between each game, its wide array of items, and last but not least, its interesting and diverse tracks. So what happened when Nintendo tried to flip this formula on its head and create the most bare bones track layout? Just an oval? Was it a major mistake, or did it somehow work out in their favour? Well, Mario Kart has 9 entries in the series thus far, with over 200 unique tracks, which means the layouts can become staler or less unique on occasion. But in Mario Kart Double Dash's Mushroom Cup, they added a track so basic that it had to have extra laps added on to make sure it was long enough to be thoroughly enjoyed, if that's the right word here. The track I'm talking about is, of course, the infamous Baby Park. This track was an unprecedented change to Mario Kart's track formula, even for a Mushroom Cup track. Usually these are simplistic at best, but Double Dash actually seemed promising in terms of layouts prior to this track. GCN Luigi Circuit is probably the single best starter track in the series to this day, except Figure 8 Circuit My Beloved, and challenged the racers to drive back towards the competition when ahead or behind the pack. This made this track memorable despite being a simple layout. Then they had Peach Beach, which was also basically a circle, but got carried by its theming feeling very unique even for a fairly barebone beach setting. So we get onto Baby Park, and its layout is non-existent really. You go forward a little bit, and then you turn right in a 180, and then you go forward a little bit more, and then you go on a 180 again, and do that 7 times instead of a standard 3. So does the theming actually carry this track's layout like the track like Peach Beach? Well, honestly, no. As the name implies, it's a park for babies, despite not looking like that's the case based on the amount of roller coasters that I wouldn't dare ride personally. This track has basically nothing going for it, but you may have noticed that this isn't a video just hating on Baby Park for the hell of it. We don't hate for the hell of it on Circuit Law. Unless it's Neo Bowser City, then we hate all we want. Instead, as the title suggests, this video is to figure out why this track split the community. You see, while Baby Park has a lot of haters who say, oval bad, circle good, there's also a lot of people who love this track, and that's all because of one thing Double Dash does better than any other game: the item play. You see, Double Dash is infamous for its inclusion of 2 races per kart, a first and a last to the series, its stupidly difficult controls, and its wacky items. Every pair of characters within this series had a special item they could pull that could just break the game. Some of them were fairly simplistic, like Mario and Luigi's Fireball and Peach's and Daisy's Heart that protected them from a hit, but others were so much worse. For example, the Koopas gained triple red and triple green shells every time they pulled their special. This made the racetrack basically a level 8 threat to humanity, and sometimes unplayable if the track was small enough. Do you see where I'm going with this? There was also the babies who for some reason got a giant fucking chain chomp. This thing was just a bullet bill if it was on steroids, as it would personally take you across the track much faster than a bullet bill, while destroying whatever was in its path. In tight spaces, this would force many races to be hit. You may be starting to see a pattern here. Basically, the items being so unbalanced in this game meant Baby Park was a war zone, which was taken very differently by each side of the community. Firstly, there was the side I'm going to call the Gremlins. These little goblins fully embraced the chaos as if they were cavemen inventing fire, and would be the type of racer to stock up on the items just in last place, just to bully the middle of the pack. Then there was the nerdy Mario Kart nerd poopy butt faces who said, "But this is a racing game! We can't have a track so heavily dependent on items and not skill." And while they may have had a point, the Gremlins and Nintendo really just stared at them and said, "Skill issue." This track really was a once-in-a-generation idea from Nintendo. They did have more oval tracks in the future like Yoshi Falls, Excite Bike Arena, and Sky High Sundae, but none of them had a memorable gimmick so they could get away with it. Let's just be grateful they left this track here and never brought it back. Mario Kart DS, released in 2005, was the next entry in the series, which brought Baby Park straight back. This, however, was not in a way that paid homage to the charm and chaos of Double Dash's version. Let's see why. But first, if you've enjoyed this video thus far, please like and subscribe. I release weekly videos talking about different Mario Kart tracks, and your support would be everything. If you send proof to Circuit Law on Discord of you sharing this video to a friend, then I'll feature you in the next video. The main thing that kept this track together was the item play from Double Dash, so let's see how it fares in DS. DS was inspired by the GCN Mario Kart in many ways, with a very similar base item selection, and many other small aspects being similar, but felt much more turned down. This game was made for the DS, and it barely looks like it can handle the storage of a Kart, so how they plan to make a quality Mario Kart game on this console seemed like a mystery. But lo and behold, Nintendo managed to do it, and pretty well. Mario Kart DS is my personal favourite game in the series. Despite removing double races per kart, special items, and some of the characters, the game still had a lot of character within its gameplay. One aspect it lacked in was the retros, however, which were made as a downgrade for 99% of the tracks, removing shortcuts and vital aspects that made them so fun to begin with. Despite this, generally Baby Park wasn't changed too much. The track did seem a little wider this time, probably in hopes people wouldn't complain over all the items, but this wasn't even an issue here, as triple shells and high power items were much scarcer. Another thing they did, in order to reduce the chaos, was reduce the lap count from 7 to 5. This is generally a pretty hated change from this track, which is completely understandable as it means the track doesn't even last a minute anymore, and with not much going on, even that can drag on sometimes. Something else that just made the track feel empty was that the game only had 8 races. Every game before this also had 8 races, but Double Dash felt much more like 12 to 16, considering every kart had 2 races on it. Every race was chaos. Here, however, with everything being turned down, this track just felt like a dizzy mess. Should I even go on with berating this track? I shall. The theming of this track in the original was very upbeat, wacky, and felt alive, with one of the roller coasters actually occasionally going through the track and being able to hit you. Something very random but added to the charm of the track. This version, however, could be set in a desert, and it wouldn't make a difference as it just feels lifeless. Overall, this remake was just a complete massacre to everything this track stood for. I suppose one thing it didn't ruin was the track layout, but that's not much of an achievement. Most people would agree this version shouldn't be associated with the Double Dash variant, even if they hated this track to begin with. I guess we should be grateful they stopped after the second entry. Oh wait, they actually did stop here. Mario Kart 8 is the most recent game, and in its deluxe variant, 16 new tracks were included, with one being Baby Park. And honestly, this track looks breathtaking. When I think of Baby Park, this is the track that comes to mind. I mean, this version actually looks like it's for babies, with a sort of Disneyland aesthetic, being full of ticket booths and gift shop looking areas. It also features a baby pink gold Peach statue, which I just want to say is a hate crime from Nintendo to Nintendo. Like, I'm quitting this YouTube channel if baby Pink Gold Peach is in the next Mario Kart game, and you can quote me on that. As well as this, they brought back some of the things that caused issues in the DS version, like adding double boxes and 7 laps back to the track. As well as this, despite the item pool not quite being as crazy as in Double Dash, it was still far more advanced and diverse than DS, having items like the Fire Flower and the Horn to add some trouble for races. They also incorporated anti-gravity, which was the newest gimmick of the game, by just picking the track up and kind of just placing it on its side. It kind of reminds me of those pirate ship rides you'd see at an amusement park, and I think it's pretty neat. The anti-gravity also causes you to be able to bounce off other races and gain speed, making navigating through people and items much trickier than it needs to be at times. This remake does more than enough to be on equal footing with the original, and retains the controversial legacy this track holds. Even now, if you look at anything speaking about Baby Park, the opinions will generally be split down the middle. So what are my thoughts? The random stranger behind the screen who objectively has the right opinion here. Well, I think Baby Park, as a track, despite splitting its community with how basic certain aspects are, it actually managed to bring the community together through the main aspect of Mario Kart, chaos. This is why this track frequently returns, and why it's been such a memorable mainstay since. Thanks for watching.